What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. J. This is W.A.D. MTG. Today I'm going to cover a couple deck techs real quick. These are my CDH decks. This deck started out as a bracket 4 under Thrasios Tevesh Szat. This is 50 Shades of Nimbus, the Ice Cold Dick Killer. And it's evolved into a bracket 5 deck. So I've only been playing CDH since like last Halloween-ish, so a little under a year, almost a year. And this deck has been evolving over time, and I took it to CDH the other day along with my other CDH deck, played several rounds with both decks, and made some changes and updates to the decks because they're running pretty well. But this particular deck, as I said, it started out as a bracket 4 deck, had a lot of pet cards in it, and I whittled those down quite a bit and made some adjustments for the meta because it was able to play well. Both my decks played well, but even when I was able to present threats and present wins, I wasn't able to protect them that well, and the lines weren't as smooth as I would have liked them to be, even after drawing cards and things like that, and put myself in position to present a win or present a threat. And it just wasn't going the way I expected or the way I had wanted. So I tuned them up a bit, and I'm going to go over the evolution of this deck in my Hashatan deck. So this is 50 Shades of Nimbus. Like I said, it's under Tevesh Szat. Planeswalker for 4 and a black. You can create 2 Thralls, or you can sacrifice another creature or Planeswalker. And if you do, you draw 2 cards. Then you draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was your commander, which would be like Thrasios. So a nice little draw engine in the command zone. It's expensive. It's a little niche for a CDH deck, but I really like it. It's like kind of like a combination of Tymna Thrasios and Kinnan, but without white. So it's like the combination of those 2 decks together. And, you know, everybody knows Thrasios. 1/3 for 4 mana. You can scry 1, then reveal the top card. If it's a land card, it goes to the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, you draw a card. So, one of the newest additions to the deck is Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, because this is a 1-ring deck, and it's a big mana deck. I like to untap artifacts to create more mana. I also like to search for those artifacts because his best ability is this -3. Where you search for your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand and shuffle. Probably will never get to the ultimate, so it's not really a thing. Aboleth Spawn. This is a great card. I love this card. It's a 2/3 flash fish horror for 2 and a blue. It has Ward 2 and has Probing Telepathy. So whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, you can copy that ability and then choose new targets for the copy. Like, let's say, Thassa's Oracle, like Atali, like Atraxa, and any other big threat like that. And because it's flash, and the way the stack works, you will get that ability first. So if someone tries to hit a Thassa's Oracle, you can then get the ability on the stack at a higher level, and then Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation, and then they can even Demonic Consultation in response. Your Aboleth Spawn that's hitting their Thassa's Oracle will actually hit the stack first, or Atali or whatever it is will go off first, winning you the game, allowing you to win over top of them, or get whatever permanents off the top off of like an Atali trigger or something before they do. So I love that card, Aboleth Spawn. Biomancer's Familiar is a new addition to the deck. It's like Training Grounds. It's a 2/2 for a green and a blue. It's creature mutant. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. That's for Thrasios, so I can go off and hit multiple Thrasios activations in a turn. And it can't reduce the amount to less than 1 mana. Has another tap ability for adapts, but I'll never use that. We got a Birds of Paradise here. A bunch of mana dorks in this deck because we're running Kinnan. We got a Bloom Tender, so if I get both my commanders on the field, it'll tap for 3, or all 3 colors, it'll tap for 3. We got a Chasm Stalker, because I like to draw cards, so I draw a bunch of cards, put a bunch of 1/1 counters on him. When he dies, or I can sack him, create X 1/1 blue squid tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1/+1s on him. Pretty good. Deathrite Shaman, he's a nice little utility piece, could be a mana dork. He's got 2 toughness, so that's good for like Bowmaster. You can also exile instant and sorcery cards from a graveyard to stop people's Underworld breach lines, or get rid of a problematic creature that you think your opponent is going to reanimate. We got a Delighted Halfling here. Helps us cast our commanders, helps us cast our legendaries, and if I cast legendaries that are counterable, it can make them uncounterable. And it also has 2 toughness for bowmasters. Then we got a Devoted Druid here for combo, for infinite mana, one of the infinite mana combos in the deck. This is a big mana deck. I'm trying to create infinite mana. I'm trying to win with Thrasios activations and Thoracle lines and things of that nature. So, fantastic card in the deck. We got a Spirit Guide for a little bit of turbo. Exile it, add a green. We got an Enduring Vitality, A+ card in a Kinnan deck. And since I'm running a bunch of mana dorks and things that can create tokens, like Tevesh, my Thralls can then tap for a mana of any color. Really good card in this deck as well. So we got a Fanatic Aronis. I am running a couple big creatures. So he comes out and he's got big toughness for a mana dork. So, you know, keep it bowmasters in mind. And I do have big creatures, so he can potentially tap for 4, and you can externalize him to bring him back from the graveyard to tap for 4 green. Good card in big mana deck. This card is a new addition. I absolutely love this card. Fiend Artisan. For 2 hybrid mana, black or green, it's a creature nightmare 1/1. It gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. And then for a hybrid black or green and X, you can tap him, sack another creature, insert your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, and put it directly into the battlefield. So if you can create big mana and you can't get to the creatures you need, you can activate his ability, sack a creature, a mana dork or something, and go get the big creature and put it directly into play. So we got a Gyruda here. Gyruda does fill the graveyard. It does fill my opponent's graveyard, but it allows me to bring back, because each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard, then I can put a creature card with even converted mana cost among those cards onto the battlefield under my control. So it's a nice little Kraken. It's a legendary. The original Bracket 4 deck was a sea creature themed deck, and I did have more big creatures in that version of the deck, but I have since slimmed them down. And Gyruda is one of the ones I thought about cutting, but he stayed in the deck. I can do some things from the graveyard. It's nice to be able to pull out a creature, and I wanted to keep some semblance of the identity of the deck as I moved it from a Bracket 4 to a Bracket 5 deck. So Gyruda did make the cut. Hazel's Brewmaster for infinite mana lines up here with Devoted Druid. So you get your Devoted Druid in the graveyard, you play it. When it enters or attacks, exile a target card from your graveyard. It becomes a food token. So when it's a food token and you put the neg counters on it to untap it, it can't die because it's a food. It doesn't have power and toughness, which gives you infinite green mana. So then we got Hullbreaker Horror. Can't be countered. That's a thing I'm going for with my big creatures here. Trying to make sure my Krakens and stuff can't be countered. It's a 7/8 with flash. And then whenever I cast a spell, I can choose one. So I can return a spell I don't control to its owner's hand. Like if I don't have a counter or something, I can play a spell, return that spell so it won't go on the stack. Or I can go off with like an infinite line with like Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, and just do that over and over and over again to untap, make infinite mana, and then trigger this in infinite amount of times and return my opponent's whole boards, all their non-land permanents, to their hand, which can give me an easy win there. We got Kinnan here, obviously, to double up the mana for all my non-land permanents that tap for mana, and then his activation cost is a thing, and it can help me hit big creatures. So I've got both Komas in here, the Cosmos Serpent and the World Eater. Now, they both can't be countered, right? One's Trample Ward 4, and then when it does combat damage, you create 4 3/3s. And the other one is a little more toolboxy. It's a 6/6. Beginning of each upkeep, you create a 3/3 Serpent named Koma's Coil, and then you can sacrifice the Serpent and then tap target permanent, and its activated abilities can't be activated, or it gains Koma gains indestructible till end of turn. It also really helps for my Gaia's Cradle lines. Create a bunch of tokens, make Gaia's Cradle, Boros Breeze Caller. You gotta hit so many creatures on the field to be able to hit those Boros Breeze Caller loops. So that's why both the Komas made the deck. In one turn cycle, the Cosmos Serpent will make 4 3/3s by the time it gets back to me. This one, when I attack with it, it makes 4 3/3s. To get the Gaia's Cradle line off, you have to have 5 creatures on the field and be able to play the other land, Talon Gates of Madara, to continue to cycle and untap with the Boral Breezecaller your Gaia's Cradle, using the 1 extra mana from the Talon Gates to create infinite green mana. So that kind of helps with that line. It's also a beat stick. I can win through combat damage. We got Nezahal here, a nice little draw engine, 7 mana, 7/7, legendary Elder Dinosaur. Can't be countered. I have no maximum hand size. So when I'm drawing a bunch, I get like, Ristic Studies and stuff on the field. I can draw a bunch of cards. And whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, I draw a card. And it has some protection, some built-in protection, which I probably won't use unless I need to. We already talked about the Breezecaller. It's in there for infinite mana lines. I don't just have Gaia's Cradle, but I have Growing Rights of Itlimoc in there. I did have a Vendo in there, but a Vendo comes in tapped. Pay a green and tap it to create mana equal to your number of creatures. So you'd actually need 6 creatures on the field to go through that loop with a Vendo. And even though Comas can tap to stay, the Comas Coil can tap to station the Avendo to turn the Avendo on, it seems like a little bit too much extra work for a land that comes in tapped to be a third outlet for that particular win con that could create infinite mana. Which of course I would then sink into Thrasios activations a million times, dump a bunch of shit from my hand to get out everybody's counter magic and shit, and then I can even leave myself a more protected Thassa's Oracle win, because I can populate my whole field with creatures and artifacts and stuff to try to drain the interaction out of my opponent's hand, and then I'll have more devotion to blue to potentially be able to leave a few cards in my deck, so if they can interact at the last second, I don't kill myself and I can still take over the game with a massive board state. So where are we at here? We are down to Seaborn Muse. Awesome card in any Thrasios deck because you want to hit a bunch of Thrasios activations. Once you start making a bunch of mana and you can hit a buttload of Thrasios activations, you're in there, dude. You're just so set up. You just throw a whole bunch of mana on your field at one time, untap it on everybody else's turn, and just go off hardcore. We did throw a Sylvan Caryatid in there. It's another mana dork. It's a 0/3 for 2, Defender Hexproof. That's important. Not only does it have 3 toughness, but it has Hexproof, so it can't be targeted by Bowmasters. Obviously, Thassa's Oracle's in there. WinCon. Tishana's Tidebinder is a great card. I really like this card. Another flash creature. It's a 3/2 for 2 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, counter up to 1 target activated or triggered ability. If an ability of an artifact, creature, or planeswalker is countered this way, that permanent loses all abilities for as long as Tishana's Tidebinder remains on the battlefield. Notably, this is now a standard all-star because it's not a legendary creature, and you can hit Vivi with it, or you can hit the Cauldron with it, and it shuts down the Is It Cauldron Vivi deck. So, great card. Really like it. Big fan of that card. The last card, this card is not a great card, not for CEDH. It's a good card. I love the card. I used to run it in standard. But in CEDH, if I can make this creature uncounterable, or I can land it, because most CEDH counters don't counter creature spells. A few do, but most people don't really run that, or they'll cut that, like Strict Serenade and things like that will be one of the last cards that they cut in their deck. So if I can actually make big mana and land a Rexiel, or, let's say I've got some Thralls on the field and an Enduring Vitality, so it really doesn't hurt me to go out of my way to tap those Thralls to play the Rexiel. Rexiel is a 5/8 legendary creature Kraken. It has Island Walk and Swamp Walk, which notably are the 2 most popular colors in CEDH, so there's a really good chance I'm going to get in. And whenever Rexiel the Risen Deep deals combat damage to a player, I can cast an instant or sorcery from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If the spell would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So I can sit there and hit their tutors and stuff right out of their graveyard while dealing damage and presenting a big threat on the board. And it's easy to get to the mana. Excuse me. So now into the artifact suite. I got 14 artifacts here. Classic Arcane Signet, Basalt Monolith for Kinnan to make infinite mana with Kinnan. We got a Chrome Mox, fast mana. Got to have fast mana. We got an Ice Crown Scepter for dramatic reversal lines, or for big mana lines where I'm already have big mana on the field. I can drop a counter spell on this. Maybe I've got Seaborn Muse on the field, and I can untap it during every upkeep and present multiple counter spells on everybody's turn. Then we got Lotus Petal, just a free like treasure for turbo lines and to get field presence early. We've got a Machine God's Effigy, which is another line for Devoted Druid up here. So if Devoted Druid's on the field and you drop a Machine Gods, it makes a copy of the Devoted Druid. And then it has its text, except it's an artifact that has tap, add blue. So if you target the Devoted Druid with Machine Gods, you have automatic infinite green and infinite blue mana, because you can put the neg counters on it to untap it, and it's not a creature. So you can just untap it as many times as you want and continue to tap it for a green or a blue, making infinite green and blue mana, which I think is fantastic. We got a Mana Vault here. This is a keys deck, so I can untap artifacts. So not just the Isochron Scepter, not just the Mana Vault, but we also got the One Ring and a few other cards that I can untap. So untapping is awesome in the deck. I've got both keys in the deck, and it's a big mana deck. So if I can double tap it and float, 6-1, 5 colorless mana, that's going to help me drop one of my big creatures or something. And then set me up to play to multi-spell on that turn as well. So we got the Manifold Key, untap another target artifact. It also can tap for 3 to make a creature unblockable this turn. We got the Mox Amber. It turns on with the Thrasios pretty easy. We've got a Skull Clamp. The Skull Clamp is for the Thralls, and then it just helps me draw 2 cards. There's a few other 1/1s, Mana Dorks, and things of that nature that I can ping off with the, like maybe the Chasm Skulker or Bird's Paradise or something, that I can ping off with the Skull Clamp to draw extra cards. Really good card in any deck that's got Tevesh in the command zone, because you just hook it to the Thralls and you can draw without activating his minus ability and still get the same effect of drawing 2 cards and keep populating the field with Thralls. Obviously, we got a Soul Ring in the deck. We've got a One Ring in the deck. So we untap the One Ring a bunch of times, draw a bunch of cards. Fantastic. We've got the Voltaic Key, the other key to help untap. And then this is a new inclusion in the deck as well. I was running other tutors in the deck until I watched a recent Play to Win episode where they talked about the Wishclaw Talisman and how you can untap the Wishclaw Talisman in response to its activation with a key or with Tezzeret. You untap it in response to activating it, and then tap it again, and you can remove multiple wish counters on this card, up to all of the wish counters off this card, and tutor 1, 2, or 3 times per turn. You can also do it with, where is it here? Dramatic Reversal. So you can activate a Wishclaw and then activate Dramatic Reversal, untap the Wishclaw, retap the Wishclaw, and search twice off a Dramatic Reversal. So since that's already part of the plan in the deck, why not try to take advantage of that and be able to potentially tutor multiple times in a turn, and maybe even give the Wishclaw Talisman away with 0 wish counters on it by the time the abilities resolve and you have to actually give away the Talisman. So now we're down to our instance. So we've got some interaction here. We've got an Abrupt Decay. Can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. We've got an Assassin's Trophy. A lot of people don't run basics, so it's just destroy target permanent. And then if they're a big mana deck or a multicolor deck, like Tim Necrom or something like that don't run basics, or like a 4 or 5 color deck that most of them don't run basics, and then they don't get no upside from that. So we've got a Crop Rotation. That's for Gaia's Cradle or for Talon Gates. We've got a Culling the Weak. That can add mana, turbo into the Tevesh, play a 1-drop, get a little value off of it, turbo into the Tevesh. Maybe I got my Chasm Stalker up there and he's got a bunch of counters on him. I can sack him, make a bunch of Island Walk 1/1s, and add the mana. Psych Rift. It's the only board wipe. It's single target, not really removal interaction, but since it's a big mana deck, it's not hard for me to get to 7 mana. So Psych Rift really is a great card in this deck, especially if you can protect it and stop people from countering it. Get rid of their whole field. You've got a field, puts you in a power play to win the game. Dark Writ for turbo, obviously. We've got a Deadly Rollick for removal. If I got one of my commanders in play, it's free. We've got a demonic consultation, obviously. Now I can use this to tutor to get gas into my hand or whatever I need, or I can use it to combo off, obviously, with Thrasios Oracle. The dramatic reversal, I've already talked about how I'm using that multiple times, either to create infinite mana or to get multiple activations of my mana rocks to float a bunch of mana, or my Wishclaw Talisman or something like that. Fierce Guardianship, free counterspell with your commander. Flare of Denial. I'm running a bunch of, green and blue creatures. There are several green creatures. Some of them I do need to be able to try to get rid of. So it allows me to sacrifice that creature to get a free counterspell. I like it in the deck. There's some other cards that I probably could have put in there, like a Force of Will, but I only have one Force of Will, and it's in my Hashaton deck. So I kind of had to distribute the power a little bit between the two CEDH decks, because I can't just put every fucking card I wanted in both the decks, because I don't run proxies. So I only play with cards that are in my personal collection. So Flusterstorm, fantastic counterspell. You build up your storm count. You can, take out the whole stack, kind of like a Mind Break trap. Force Negation, another free counterspell. Discard, or I guess you exile blue card, counter a non-creature spell for free, it gets exiled. Mana Drain, this is a spell that a lot of people don't play in CEDH. But I like it. This is a big mana deck. I can keep 2 blue open, play the Mana Drain. Hopefully it can help me get to one of my bigger creatures on an early turn. We've got a Mystical Tutor in here. I've only got one Vamp Tutor. I moved that over to the Hashaton deck. So Mystical Tutor actually does serve a really good purpose in this particular deck, because it allows me to search for an instant or sorcery and put that card on top. Well, it just so happens that I need interaction when I need interaction. So I can search for my interaction. I can search for my Psych Rift when I create a bunch of mana. I can search for my Dramatic Reversal when I have Isochron Scepter or something like that, or a Wishclaw on the field. So it can be used very, very well in this deck. And the Vamp Tutor isn't necessarily that much better in this particular deck than the Mystical Tutor. The Noxious Revival is in there just in case I get wheeled. There goes my Thrasios Oracle line. Or, I play the Demon Kraken, mill my Thrasios Oracle, or another card that I really need, and then I can put a card from my graveyard on top of the library by just paying 2 life. So it really smooths out them lines if I can get to the infinite mana later, and the piece that I need is in the graveyard and I can't get it back. So that's how I get it back. We got a Swan Song here, just a really efficient counter spell. You counter an enchantment, instant, or sorcery, they get a 2/2 bird. Tainted Pact, like I said, it's got versatility. You don't just have to use it for Thrasios Oracle. You can use it for whatever card you need and just exile a bunch of cards off your deck until you get to a card that you particularly need that combos with another card in your hand or whatever, right? Then we got a Worldly Tutor for if I do need a particular creature, or I can produce a bunch of big mana and I don't have one of my hitters. I've got Gaia's Cradle and I don't have one of the ones that creates enough creatures for me to go through the lines, or I need the Breeze Caller or something like that. The Worldly Tutor's in there. So we got to Beseech the Mirror because I can bargain one of my cards and basically go get the One Ring. Now I can go get other things as well, but its main purpose in the deck is to try and get the One Ring because it gives me a ridiculous amount of draw power, and this is a One Ring deck. So we've got a Culling Ritual. It's one of the main reasons to run black-green and CEDH right now, because it's kind of a board wipe. So you destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less, including your own, and then add a black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. So it gives you a fuck ton of mana, which you can then use to storm off and put yourself in a position to win the game, or to win the game right there on the spot. And then a D-Tutor, obviously. For my enchantments here, it's got some interesting picks. The Black Market Connection's an interesting pick in the deck. The deck isn't running a whole lot of creatures that help me draw like most CEDH decks do. So if I can land an early Black Market Connections, not only can I fix my mana, I can create shapeshifter tokens that I can then use to sacrifice for other abilities, or to Tevesh Szat. Plus I'm drawing cards and I'm creating treasure. So it really does fit really well in the deck. It's like a backup or like a Rhystic Study at home for this particular deck when I need to get online early and I didn't top into something like a early Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora. I also have Sylvan Library in this deck for the same reason. I don't really care about my life as much as I care about powering through my deck and drawing a bunch of cards. If I can power through the deck, draw a bunch of cards, play out my hand, that's how you win games of Magic, by playing more cards and using more mana than your opponents. So obviously I got Rhystic Study, obviously I got Mystic Remora. The other addition is a Growing Rites of Itlimoc, where when it enters, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, you reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. But at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, you transform it. And when it's transformed, it is a Gaia's Cradle. So it either taps for green or it taps for green for each creature you control. Then I got a Training Grounds in there, which combined with this other card up here, what's it called again? The Biomancer's Familiar. It reduces the cost of the Thrasios activations. So I create a bunch of big mana and I go through a bunch of Thrasios activations. Put me in a position to win the game. And that is pretty much it. I've got a nice little CDH land base in the deck. I'm not going to go over all of it. There are some budget includes in here, and I do run a few basics. And that's because I don't have any original OG duels. And because I don't believe in proxying, that's how I go about it. I just fill the holes as best I can to my ability for the mana base. Eventually, I will try to get my hands on some OG duels. They're very expensive, and I don't want to just buy one at a time. I want to be able to crank off the 2 or 3 I need for each deck. And it just so happens that each deck has blue-black in them, and I believe that's the most expensive one, Underground Sea. So, as of right now, the deck's running $2,920. Kind of budget for a CDH deck, but like I said, there are no proxies in the deck whatsoever. So I'll go through a couple test hands, maybe get a few turns in and kind of see how the deck goes, just to kind of walk through what might be a keepable hand and my thought process when I'm looking at my mulligans here. Okay, so this one, it's got a Boseiju, it's got an Amber, but without the other land, I can't get the Thrasios. This is a bad hand. We're going to have to mulligan this one and toss it back. In my second 7, I do got a couple lands here. This is a keepable hand. I can Prismatic Vista into Delighted Halfling. I get the basic, I get my snow-covered forest or whatever, play the Delighted Halfling turn 1. I've got a turn 2 land drop, which I can then Worldly Tutor, I can Bloom Tender, play the Thrasios, then Bloom Tender. So yeah, I've also got the Demonic Tutor, so it's actually not bad at all. It's not great, but it's not the worst. So we'll kind of look at it and see how it goes. Draw for turn 1. We got an Icecrown Scepter. We'll play the Vista, right? So the Vista can only search for a basic. So we've got to crack that. Search. We'll look for the Snow-Covered Forest right here. Put it in play. Shuffle the deck. Tap it for the Halfling. Now we're looking at turn 2. What can we do turn 2? We've got a Mystical Tutor. But I don't think the Mystical Tutor is going to be anywhere near as good as this, the Snow-Covered Island. Now we could Isochron Scepter into Mystical Tutor and just continue to toots, or we can toot for a card to put on the Scepter. But right now I've got no way to untap the Scepter, so throwing it out there without a key with like a counter spell or something on it, it's a little telegraphed, so we wouldn't want to do that. What we'd want to do here is just play the Thrasios. Thrasios, Pasios, classic turn 2. Now I could have also held up a mana. We could hold up the Snow-Covered Island. We could tap the Delighted Halfling, then pay the Thrasios, and then we can save the mana for the Mystical Tutor. Now I'm going looking for any spell, and at turn 2, that's actually probably the line that I want here. As we do that, we play the Thrasios, we go for the Mystical Tutor. We know we got the Bloom Tender in our hand next. We don't know what we're going to top deck, but we do have a Worldly Tutor, so we can play the Bloom Tender into a Worldly Tutor, go get a big creature, and potentially drop the big creature on my next turn. So we will go ahead and Mystical Tutor. I think the smart thing here to Mystical Tutor for is probably some interaction, right? Because CDH is super fast, and guys can win, players can win turn 2, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. So as I'm going through the loops, we would want to play it like we'd want to play it in real life. So in this situation, I just played my commander. We were looking for the Fierce Guardianship. So we move that to our hand. Shuffle the deck. Then we're looking at a turn 3. Go ahead and untap for turn 3. Not great. Not great. So we did not get any more lands. But we can go like this. Oh, that's not the way I wanted that to go. Because Bloom Tender is not legendary. I won't also be able to Worldly Tutor on the same turn. But I guess we've got to do it like that. We've got a Bloom Tender that can tap for 2 mana on my next turn, a blue and a green. And because Thrasios is blue and green and it's legendary, so it's for each permanent you control, among other permanents you control, so I can tap for blue and a green. And then we got the 1 mana that we can then play the Skull Clamp, just to be efficient. We'll assume that during this turn rotation, somebody's going to try and do something big. So we'll go ahead and Fierce Guardianship that, and that's how we play that. So our next turn comes around. It's okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana showing. No black though. So we can't Demonic Tutor. We could potentially Worldly Tutor. We can't Beseech Samir. We could potentially throw another Ramper out here. Or we can maybe Thrasios, activation at instant speed. I think probably the best thing to do here would be to go like this. Put out the other Ramper. And then we've got 2 more mana here. Which we would probably then... So if we go like this, tap that for the Sylvan instead, then we can go like that and Worldly Tutor. Then we have 2 mana up. But it's a blue and another. People don't know what we have. I think that's probably the best way to do that. Now I could Skull Clamp the Bloom Tender and draw a couple cards. That's a little self-defeating. When the next turn we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Plus whatever we draw. So that's not actually that bad. So for creatures with 6 mana, we're looking at, we could try to, get the Cosmos Serpent or something, but we know we're going to have 6 mana. We know we're going to have 1 black. Oh, and that can tap, my bad, I didn't mean to do that. And then we can tap this for any color to play a legendary. So we can look for a legendary with 6. And that the answer for that one is probably going to be the Rexiel, right? Okay. So we do that, or we pull out the Kinnan, go off with the Kinnan, hope for Basalt, try and make infinite mana. One of those two is probably the right answer. It's going to be either the Rexiel or the Kinnan. Since I have a bunch of mana dorks on the field, we got a guaranteed Rexiel that they probably can't counter, which can't swing the turn it comes out. So that puts me a turn behind. Or we can do the Kinnan, where if we can get into something, we can at least get a couple Thrasios activations and maybe go off from there. Or we can, just start playing the Tevesh Szat and try to draw into cards from there. So one of those two is the answer, and that's an all right go, an all right plan. We're going to try another one. So we got some land this time. We got some big creatures. We got a Demonic Tutor. I don't particularly like it. It's really slow. I can sack to go get the land I need to play the D2, but it's still a turn 2 without drawing into a fast mana or something like that. So I think we'll mulligan and look at the second 7. More land, plus the Psych Rift again and the Machine Gods. I think I would probably just keep this one because I can Deathrite Shaman turn 1 and start my plan from there. It's not great. Let's go down to 6. This one's probably a little better. I got the Gaia's Cradle. I got the Monolith. I've got Tainted Pact. I don't need the crop rotation because I've got the Gaia's Cradle. And we can Tainted Pact for Kinnan. So we'd keep this one. And we would throw back the crop rotation. So you keep this one. Draw. What do we got first? We got... Where'd it go? Oh, I thought I had. Alright. Well, I guess it's a little slower than I originally thought. We're still going to go ahead and we're going to Overgrown Tomb. That's it, really. We got the Force of Negation. Do we got another blue? I do not. This is not the greatest, but the turn 2 is going to change things around. There we go. That definitely will change things around. So we'll go ahead and we'll play probably the Guy's Cradle, right? And then we tap 2 for the Arcane Signet. Then we tap that for that, or something along those lines. We could have, I guess, tapped 1 for the Soul Ring, tapped the Soul Ring for the Signet, and left the Overgrown Tomb on tap. That's probably better. But that's kind of how we're at. Actually, it would be like that, right? So we play it, we tap for the Soul Ring, tap the Soul Ring for the Signet. Now we can actually go like this. We can Tainted Pact. And we can Tainted Pact. This turn 2 is not bad at all. So we're going to Tainted Pact here. We're looking for Kinnan. So we exile cards from the top of our library until we get to Kinnan, because we got the Basalt Monolith. A lot of cards are going away. Ooh, no. How deep is Kinnan? There he is. Throw the Kinnan. We got the Kinnan in our hand. Alright. Turn 3's coming. We've got some mana. We draw for turn. We got some more. We'll probably want a Yavimaya Coast here. Throw the Yavimaya Coast in there. We don't have no creatures, so Guy's Cradle is tapping for nothing. Is it only tap? Oh, see, for each creature. So I wouldn't have been able to do that. I thought it tapped for 1 or it tapped for 1 for each creature. So it doesn't actually tap for anything. We would have probably had to save the Guy's Cradle, play the Yavimaya Coast, and then play the Guy's Cradle this turn. So that's my fault. That's play pattern. I'm kind of new to CEDH. I'm trying to go through the lines just so you guys can see and understand. So in this situation, we go like this. We play the Kinnan. Then for 2 and for 3, we play the Basalt Monolith. Now we can go off with the Basalt Monolith, make infinite mana, right? And at this point, it's just infinite colorless though. So it doesn't actually do anything for us, because I cannot play the rest of my creatures. I can tap this for green, but that doesn't get me to... Man, that sucks. One turn off from a win there, because we don't have... Well, I guess maybe if I would have went... it still wouldn't matter. Even if I play the Island over the Guy's Cradle, it still doesn't matter. I don't have the Force of Negation, so I'd actually have to wait until turn 4. Turn 4, I can present a win, because then I drop the land. Then we drop the Thrasios, right? By going 1 and 2. I take a damage from that or whatever, right? And then we can just do this over and over and over and over and over again to Thrasios every card in our deck. And as we go, we're dropping stuff. As we drop stuff, so like, lands. Most people are fairly familiar, making infinite colorless, so we play the Voltaic Key. As we go, we're going to play the stuff out. The lands come in, because this way people might want to spend their interaction. And what have I got? I've got this, the Guy's Cradle and the Signets and the Soul Ring. So as of right now, I cannot create the 2 blue that I would need to play the Thassa's Oracle, but I'd be able to get to it eventually. There we go. Now we can Fierce Guardianship, and you just keep going. The lands come in. They come in tapped. Just keep going. I can play the Skull Clamp. Lands all come in tapped. Eventually, I'll get to I can play that. So I play that with the infinite colorless, and I'm just gonna keep going and keep going and keep going, and I'm gonna be left with the Guy's Cradle, the Overgrown Tomb, the Arcane Signet, the Soul Ring, and whatever free mana I can get to. All these come in tapped, so I literally have to get the rest of my good stuff. I could drop that, but without the other card, it's stupid. But now that I have that, all I need is the Dramatic Reversal. Is it in here? Nope. So eventually I'll get to the dramatic reversal. When I get to the dramatic reversal, I can Isochron Scepter, dramatic reversal, activate it with my Infinite Colorless, which will untap all my mana rocks, including the Arcane Signet and the Soul Ring. So I'll be able to float it at that point. Now I already have infinite mana of every color that it's in my deck, and I can play anything. And as I'm going, I can storm off. They're either going to concede the game right now, or I can just continue to storm off and play every card in my deck. You know, I haven't got it yet, but I would get to it eventually. And from there, it's protected, right? Like, it's going to be protected. There's the pedal. Still haven't hit the dramatic reversal. But you see what I'm saying? Once I do hit the dramatic reversal, now I can drop the coma, I can drop that. I can just continue to storm off and storm off and storm off until my devotion is high enough where I don't need to deck myself, and I still will win with the Thrasios Oracle line. So that's 50 Shades of Nimbus, Ice Cold Dick Killer. I'm Mr. J. This is W.A.D. MTG. I'm out. I'm about to do the hash time video.